Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's info session on the Africa Deep Tech Innovation Challenge. So the goal of today's session is just to share some of the information that is already on the challenge website, but just to talk through it. And we know that for a challenge as important as this one, folks always have questions. And so we just wanted to make ourselves available to answer any of those questions in case you had any questions. So my name is Chukwemeka Afibo. I am the convener of the Africa Deep Tech community. And basically, we are a community of people who believe in furthering, the message of deep tech in Africa and for Africans. Um, People always ask me, when I say deep tech, what does that mean? And one of my favorite definitions of deep tech is one that I read a few years ago. Basically says that deep tech is basically an emerging technology. Any technology that was impossible yesterday is barely possible today, but will be very common, so common tomorrow that we're going to wonder how we ever managed to survive without it. So that's what we mean by deep tech. So think about it as any next level technology, next level computing, artificial intelligence, like advanced artificial intelligence. That's what I mean. Extended reality, advanced IoT, Web3, it goes on and on. Robotics, quantum computing, and all forms of technology-based research. That's what we mean by deep tech. And we're basically a collection of people in the field that are really, really passionate about deep tech and want to see Africans step up and take their true place in defining how these technologies evolve in the world. And obviously, if you're watching this info session, it means that you must have heard about the Africa Deep Tech Innovation Challenge 2025, which is basically an innovation challenge that is trying to do exactly what the community does, which is further deep tech in the region. And the challenge itself is focused on what we're calling resource-constrained computing. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that, but I just wanted to welcome everyone and set just set the scene. Cool. So without wasting any time, hopefully this will be a very short one. I'll just go straight into it. And the way I'm going to, and by the way, if you're, the way we're going to do this is, if you're live, if you're watching this live, you can use the Q&A. You can use the Q&A section of the webinar to ask your questions. If you want to say anything else, like you can always use the chat. We'd love to see your comments in the chat. Like, tell us who you are, where you're coming from, why you're excited about this challenge. We'd love to see all of that. But for the questions, use the Q&A. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to walk through the challenge website. I'm going to step through the challenge website. Most of the information there is really clear, but I'm just going to add a little bit more context to the information on the website. So if you will give me a second, I will just share my screen. Okay. So what do you see now? Do you see a browser window? Yes, great. Awesome. So so Africa Deep Tech Challenge 2025. The goal of this challenge is to inspire people and encourage all of you to create solutions that thrive under resource constraints. And we also want to unlock that deep tech potential that we know already exists in the region. We have a full podcast that we did talking about why we felt this challenge is important. And I'm going to pop that. I'm going to pop that podcast link in the chat, just for your reference. We spent my good friend Zach Elfasi and I spent spend some time just talking about why we felt this challenge is important. And so I would highly recommend you watch that. But just in a nutshell, um, the reason we're doing this is because we believe that, first of all, Africa needs to chart its own path when it comes to deep tech. And the way to do that, and not just chart its own path, but also, you know, have its own voice in how these emerging technologies develop globally, right? And we need to bring our Africanness to how these technologies evolve. And the way to do that is to ensure that our best talent in the region is contributing to this conversation. Now, one thing we've seen in the region over time is that a lot of our best talent, the most curious people, right, when it comes to anything at all, research, technology, and so on, spend, because there's the ecosystem is not as enabling as it could be, a lot of the most curious people, a lot of the most talented people we have in the region spend most of their careers on like traditional, working on traditional stuff, right? So somebody who ordinarily should have been developing the next breakthrough in AI or IoT or computing or Web3 may spend their whole life as a full stack developer or an everyday mobile developer. Not that there's anything against those technologies, but if you had the capacity to go beyond that, why can't you go beyond that, right? And so we created this challenge as a way to provide an opportunity for those of you, and if you're on this call, right, it means that you're probably one of those people I'm talking about, right? So we created this challenge so that those of you who are curious, who are motivated, who believe that there is more to, this whole technology thing than the everyday applications that you use or the APIs that you build on or the frameworks that you download from GitHub. And you feel that there's more, or even like the devices that you use every day, you feel that there's more you could do with them. This to create an opportunity for you to do exactly that and to do it in a way that is unique to the region, which is taking advantage of, some of those things that are seen as constraints, right? Um, and so the arena we're doing this in is the arena of resource-constrained compute. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But that's really what the challenge is about. That's why we're doing it. It's powered, in collaboration. Obviously, it's run by the Africa Deep Tech community, but in collaboration with Future Africa, the Loring Tech Hub, Co-Creation Hub, and IHS Towers. And I'll talk more about them. And we have a bunch of awesome community partners as well, with more on the way. I already mentioned the top partners. Co-Creation Hub, hopefully is not a stranger to some of you on the call. They run some of the best tech hubs across Africa. Um, uh, One of them coming up soon is a Loring Innovation Hub. IHS Towers, for those who may not be familiar, they build, deploy, and maintain a lot of the cell phone towers, mainly in Nigeria, but I believe they have a reach across different countries in Africa. And of course, the main partner, the Future Africa. Future Africa is one of the top VCs in the region. They run what is arguably one of the best accelerator programs around. You should check them out. And one thing that makes them stand out and why we really, really appreciate them is that they are one of the few VCs in the region that believes in investing in deep tech or investing in founders who are working on deep tech. If you've been in the deep tech game for a while, you know that there are not many VCs or investors that in Africa who take a chance on emerging technologies, and Africa is one of them. So we're really happy to be associated with them. And then our awesome community partners, 3MTT is the community program like training talent in Nigeria. We have the ARM distinguished ambassadors who are doing amazing work, getting people to build, at the device layer. We've got Kala that does amazing work in technology, innovation, research, and beyond. The ISN network of hubs in Nigeria, and of course, AR, VR Africa that have built out a solid augmented reality and virtual reality ecosystem in the region. The GDG Lagos, always spreading that developer love, and the Omniverse Africa, one of the top conferences in the region, or like media conference platforms in the region. So now that we've done the commercial break, I'll go straight into what the challenge is. So I already talked about why we're doing it. So it's really focused on resource constrained computing, like I said. And to put it in a nutshell, what is resource constrained computing? It is basically, your everyday computing. We use laptops, we use cell phones, we use all sorts of devices that are computers, but we're specifically focused on devices that operate in very constrained environments where they don't have access to all the resources that your typical computer would have. So, you may have a device that doesn't have access to the mains electricity supply, right? Or the battery capacity is very, very small, right? Or it has no or limited access to the networking facilities or to the internet. That means it's offline first. The processing capacity may be very, very low. Just basically computers that operate in very resource constrained environments. Edge computing is obviously one application of this. The cell phones that we all know and love and use are an application of resource constrained computing, probably the most advanced application of resource constrained computing there is right now. If you think about if you think about a sensor, a computer with a sensor out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean or wherever, that's going to be there for, is built to be there for 5 years continuously, or even 20 years. Some computers, some of those devices are built to be there for like 50 years because nobody is ever going to come and check on them, right? It's a resource constrained computer. If you think about you know, basically any computer that, is not, doesn't have all the riches in terms of power, CPU, power, electricity, networking abilities, or the amount of peripherals on it and stuff like that. That's a resource constrained computer. And so what we're asking you to do with this challenge is to go crazy and build anything at all. It could be code, it could be hardware, electronics, it could be hardware, even in terms of mechanical, because casings and all that, whatever it is, um, that pushes the boundaries or stretches the imagination of what we could do with a resource-constrained computer. Another great example of resource-constrained computing is like Raspberry Pi. That's a great example. Even though some of them right now have even more resources than some people's laptops, but you get the idea. So anything that can push the boundaries of these devices, is kind of what we want to see in this challenge. And there's no restrictions in terms of the application, whether it's agriculture, fintech, education, health, gaming, entertainment, anything, computing, yeah, just go crazy. Whatever wherever your head takes you, do it. So long as it pushes the boundaries of resource constrained computing, right? And yeah, that's really what the challenge is about. And so what we're asking you to do is to create something, right? Um, it doesn't have to be a full product, right? You can just build a working prototype that solves a real world problem that uses resource constrained computing. Could be anything, like I said before. And what we're asking you to submit is a prototype or demo of the solution, right? It should be, it could be a link to an application. It could be a link to a video of the thing in the case that is hardware or a device powered. And we want to see a comprehensive project report that includes the problem definition, the constraints that you've identified, in terms of power, data, compute, connectivity, whatever it is. How you came up with design, all the different ways you could have approached the problem, and why you chose the final design path that you chose. What are the tools you used in building this, right? AI, IoT, Web3, and so on and so forth. Why did you use these particular tools or methods? Performance tests and benchmarks, screenshots and videos, showing your build in action. So that's what we want to see in the project report. And then you'll also want to see a short summary video that explains your solution and development journey. And as you go to other rounds, you update this content. But that's what we want to see, right? And I'll talk a little bit about some of these things just so that you understand why they're important. So the reason we want to see this report is that, again, remember, we're talking about emerging technologies, right? Research-based technology. We're asking you to push the boundaries. So you're doing what you're going to be submitting. Probably nobody has done it before, or nobody has thought about that problem the way you're thinking about it. So we want to see that scientific approach to problem solving. That's really one of the key criteria that the judges are going to be looking at in this challenge. And it doesn't mean you have to be a scientist. It just means that you have that systematic way of thinking. That's kind of what we're looking for. And the reason, if you've been in deep tech or anything like that, you know that is really, really important in the process of innovation. Being able to think and document your thoughts so that you can come back to them, or so that you can, someone else can leverage them. When you hear people talk about IP, that's what IP is, right? And so you should be able to document what you've done. That's that, and then the prototype, obviously, want to see the thing in action. The judges will want to see your work in action. The video is really important because, we're going to get hundreds of applications, hundreds of submissions. And the video is like your elevator pitch to tell the judge, this is what I built, this is why I built it, this is how it works, and this is why I think I should win the prize, right? And maybe even like this, if you have time, this is the team that built it, a little about yourself or your team or whatever, right? It's like your elevator pitch. Think about, and we'll share samples of what these videos could look like as time goes on, but it's your elevator pitch to get the attention of the judge and make them really bought into what you've built, right? So just thought I'll spend some time to dig into that. And then obviously we'll get to the most exciting part of the challenge, which is what do you get for putting in all this work. Again, I'll just touch on why we're doing this. We like this challenge, the thing we're asking you to build is not common, right? These are not the things that ordinarily somebody's going to invest in you to build, or so we want to support you to build those crazy ideas. And our whole goal here is that if you advance in this challenge with something really exciting, we want to give you all the support you need to take it to the next level, right? We don't want it to die on the shelf after the challenge. We want to give you the support you need to keep working on that thing and, see where it goes. no strings attached. Just see what happens. And so in terms of the prizes, that's kind of how the prize structure that's how the prize was structured. So the first prize is $8,000 in cash. There's going to be one winner. It's an equity-free grant, no strings attached. Um, you know, and of course, you're going to get matched with top-tier engineers from our community. We have a formidable brain trust in the Africa Deep Tech community. People who have, done this, been there, done that at companies like Meta, Nvidia, Google, name it. In the community, we have people who are building drones out of Africa. We have people who are investors. We have people who are in the creative arts. We have people, any kind of brain trust you need in deep tech, we've got it. People who are into research, name it, right? And so you're going to be matched with industry mentors to help you think about the solution for the next level. We will introduce you to early stage deep tech investors who you can talk to and maybe even, who knows, get some investment. We're going to promote you. We are going to promote you. If you go find this challenge, we're taking it upon ourselves that we're going to promote you and your work wherever there are ears and eyes to see and listen to what we have to say. We're going to make sure that you are there and that your work is promoted. And we'll continue to give you visibility. We'll connect you to all our contacts in the innovation ecosystem in Africa and beyond, right? Basically, the same thing goes for the second prize, except that it's $5,000 in cash. But it's the same thing. We're going to support you with mentorship. We're going to promote you. We're going to do everything within our power to see you succeed and get to the next level. The same thing for the third place, but it's third place is $3,000 in cash, equity-free grant. Now, there is another prize that is not first, second, or third place. This is called the IHS Challenge Prize, and it was provided by our partners, IHS. IHS, like I said, is a leading company in the building, deployment, and maintenance of cell phone towers and other telecom infrastructure. And they are really, really excited about this challenge, and they're excited to see what comes out of it. They were so excited that they put out $4,000 hard cash for the best solution in the power management category. So you could, your solution could address any area, right? But IHS is saying that if you happen to be building in the power management category and they are interested in what you built, you're going to get $4,000 from them, equity free, right, in cash. Okay. And these are just some examples of what they're thinking about: solar off-grid power solutions, hybrid power service models, battery optimization and lifecycle management, remote power control monitoring too. It goes on and on. It goes on and on, right? And so if this tickles your fancy and your solution is going to be here, great. You stand a chance to win an extra $4,000, regardless of whether you've won any of these prizes. So that $4,000 is on top of any first, second, or third place prize. Or it may even be that you're not even up to first, second, or third place because maybe everybody there submitted in another category, but you are the best in this power management category. You would still get $4,000 just for being the best in that category. So I just thought I'll spend some time to talk about that. Now, it doesn't just stop with the winners, right? It doesn't just stop with the winners. We designed this challenge in a way to make sure that as much as possible, so long as you participate, you're going to be better off for it. You don't have to win to benefit from this challenge. Winning is great, obviously, but so long as you participate, you get something for it. Now, and I'll talk about the structure of the challenge in a bit. If you make it to the semifinals, of which there'll be at most 20 people in the semifinals, you're going to get you're going to get a recognition certificate, and you're going to have access to some mentorship workshops and learning resources that we will provide to you, right? And we will also publicize our semifinalists. The world will get to know about you as well. If you make it to the finals, and we'll talk about the structure again, you understand what I mean by semifinals and finals. There's going to be, you have a live demo opportunity. You're going to get one-on-one mentorship with people from our community. We'll match you up with exciting people who will commit to at least 1 hour of time with you to help you refine and build out your idea or your product. We're going to support you to get your documentation up to scratch, and you will have access to our partner network, right? Our network of investors, tech hubs, and so on and so forth, if you get to the final. Now, anybody who participates in the challenge at all, right? We have structured this in such a way that, like I said, you're going to be better off for it. Throughout the challenge, we're going to be doing exclusive webinars on specific aspects of this problem. We're bringing some of the top experts to talk about this problem area and, parts of this problem of resource-constrained computing. So you're going to learn a lot from experts. You're going to have access to them. We're going to be providing technical resources, which I'll talk a bit about. And we have a vibrant community of innovators that we're going to make available to you. So you're going to find yourself in company of like-minded people. You're going to meet people. You're going to form teams with people who ordinarily you may not have connected with before, who also like working on crazy ideas. You're going to meet those folks and you're going to innovate with them. What could be better than that, right? What could be better than that? We have a bunch of amazing judges, very, very accomplished, very, very, very recognized in the space. People like Omojumila, who is ex-GitHub. She's running a wonderful startup called Femio that is changing the game in terms of how you think about reproducible builds for AI models and beyond. We have Alex Sado, ex-NVIDIA, running a startup in the AI space that's doing amazing things in the education space. We've got Zach Elfasi, ex-Google, ex-Meta, who was head of messenger platforms, platform partnerships at Meta before he started his own venture lab called Zygood, doing awesome things. Silas Adekunle, world acclaimed robotics expert, probably the foremost African robotics person out there. You can look him up if you don't believe me. Judith Okonkwo, who basically like is one of the main drivers of the VR and AR ecosystem in Africa. So if you're in the VR AR space, you probably know Judith already. Lamek Bangula, my good friend, machine learning guru from Namibia, doing amazing things in pushing the boundaries of how AI is leveraged in the healthcare space. So these are just, some of the judges who'll be looking at your submissions. So how are we going to select the winners on the finalists and the semi-finalists? So the first thing, there are 5 areas that we're going to be looking at for each submission. The first one is technical implementation, right? We want to know how your solution functions in resource-constrained environments. We want to know how did you apply and how much do you understand and how much do you apply first principle. I'll give an example of what I mean because this is really, 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 really important to this challenge. Now, I talked about resource-constrained computing. I mentioned, for example, that a mobile phone is an example of a resource-constrained computer, which technically means that if you build a mobile app that tells me the time, you could technically qualify for this challenge, right? But are you going to go far or are you going to win? I really doubt it. And the reason being that if you're just building at the application layer, calling a bunch of random APIs, um, and that's that, chances that you're going to go find this challenge are really slim. We want to see people who are going to first principles, people uh, who understand how computing works or how the technology, not just computing, how it works, and are applying that in their solution. So application layer stuff is great, but that's not what's gonna excite the judges. Do you understand how the devices work? Do you understand, how to manipulate the hardware or the materials or whatever it is? Do you, if you're doing, for example, an AI model, are you just calling ChatGPT APIs or are you doing something more fundamental? These are the kind of things. Are you going to the device layer? Are you creating are you talking to the operating system and below that layer? Like these are the kind of things we want to see and the kind of things that will get the judges excited. Code/hardware quality and efficiency, I think that should be obvious. Integration of complementary technologies. Now, this is also important. What we want to see in this challenge, is people from all walks of life, regardless of what you do. You may not even consider yourself a technologist, right? You may not be a coder, you may not be anything, but you could be an artist, you could be a musician, whatever. But you could work with somebody who is a technologist to push the boundaries of that space using resource-constrained computing. You could bring your design skills, you could bring your creative skills to the conversation. And so the more rounded the solution is, the higher your chances of advancing in this challenge. Building just an AI model is great and you could win by doing that. But it would be more awesome if maybe you collaborated, with someone in the hardware space, someone in the application space, somebody in some random field or something to make a more rounded solution. Because Africa Deep Tech community is one of our foundations is cross-functional collaboration. And we want to see that show up in your solution. Effective use of limited computing resources, again, I think that hopefully should be obvious. Creating problem solving, 30%. We want to see new approaches to addressing these constraints. Basically, we want to see you push the boundaries, solve problems in a creative way, so in a way that is not generally known or accepted. The crazier, the better. What we want to know is that the important thing is that it works, right? That's just what's the point. The crazier, the better. And then we talked about process documentation. It's no good building a rocket or whatever if it cannot be reproduced, right? So process documentation is going to be a key decider. The quality of your documentation is going to be a key decider in how far you go in this challenge. The quality, the clarity of your thought process and decision-making, evidence of learning and iteration, transparency about the challenges and solutions. This is what we want to see. And then, the last two things there is, what kind of tooling did you use to build this, right? AI, your IDE, hardware tooling, software tooling, creative, whatever. We want to see that creative process in action. How did you orchestrate different resources and tools to come between this, especially talking about AI. We live in an AI world. There's no denying it. How did AI help you in coming up with the solution or making this thing happen? Then usability and relevance. This is where we're talking about the application. So you'll notice one thing here, that usability and relevance is 10% compared to everything else. And the reason behind that is very deliberate. The reason is that Again, we're looking for crazy out there ideas, right? The important thing is that it works. Is it immediately applicable immediately today? It would be great if it is. That's why we're giving 10% of the score to that. But that is not the biggest thing. The main thing we want to see is that creativity and ability to execute on your creativity and document it, right? We believe that if you can build something really, really awesome and mind-blowing, we will find an application for it eventually, even if we can't find an application for your skills right now. So I just wanted to call that out. And I hope, if you have questions, please keep them coming in the Q&A section. We're going to talk through the questions after this. So how is, how is all of this going to work? So judges are going to assess both the final solution and development journey. We're going to place emphasis to not just what you built, but how you built it. And the top scorers will get to the live finals, where the live finalists will present their work in real time. And I'll talk about how we select those live finals in a moment. And the judges will evaluate your ability in real time, in a live stream with the world watching, ask you questions about it. You have to defend your choices and things like that. And that's how the winner is going to be selected. Okay, so we've talked about how it's going to work. Let's talk about the the timeline. So the challenge is on right now. So you can start submitting technically from today if you want. The submission deadline is in 75 days. It's going to be on July 31st, right? So by July 31st, we expect anybody who is interested in participating in this challenge to have submitted their work based on everything we've talked about before. What's then going to happen is that we're going to go through all those submissions. The judges will go through them and select the semifinalists. There's going to be at most 20 of them, at most 20 semifinalists. And they're going to be announced. Now, those semifinalists are going to, undergo more screening. There's going to be interviews with them. We're going to look into their solution. They're going to go through more screening. They'll have a chance to tweak their applications a little bit. We're going to go talk to them, find out more about what they built. And from that, we will select the finalists, at most 10 of them. Now, those finalists are going to be on the live finals. They're going to have time to brush up their act, get ready for the finals. And there's going to be a live webinar where they are going to pitch their solutions live on that webinar in form of a video pitch. And then the judges will be live on the webinar, and the judges are going to ask them questions about what they built, why they built it, how they built it, and they'll have to defend it in real time. And based on that, the winners will be chosen. So that is basically how the challenge is going to work. Eligibility criteria, teams are allowed. Up to 4 members. You have to be, 18 or older and reside in any of the listed African countries. You don't need to have been in this game before. No prior startup or funding status required. Is mainly focused on, emerging innovators. Like, you don't need to have been, no prior experience is required. All the submissions obviously have to be original work, and you can use open source tools or libraries. You have to cite them clearly, and you agree to the challenge participation agreement. All these things and more are listed in the rules section of Devpost, which you can have access to. These are the eligible countries. And when we say eligible countries, it means that you have to be residing in those countries. As at the time of the challenge, you have to be residing in those countries. And one thing that I also mentioned is that, the prototype that you submit doesn't have to have been built during this period, right? This is just a period for you to submit it. If you have something that meets all these criteria that has been built before now, we would love to see it as well, right? But yeah, so long as it's your original work and it belongs to you, you build it or your team built it, we'll also love to take a look at it. Yeah, yeah, it's open to individuals or teams. You could be solo, you could be with a team. Each one has its pros and cons, so I'll leave that to you to choose. But I'll just say that remember what I said about the fact that we want to see, the more the more you're able to integrate other technologies or thoughts or designs or creative aspects in your work, the higher your chances of winning. So just wanted to say that. And then lastly, something I'll draw your attention to is, remember we promised that we'll provide you with learning curriculum and content to help you as you think through some of these ideas or stuff you're working on. So we put together these list of resources. So this is basically like a solid curriculum on resource constrained computing. I mean, it's not everything, but this is more than enough to get you started if this is an area you're interested in. So you can you can take a look at it. Here are the resources. If you click on the link, you can look at it. Awesome stuff. Edge computing and distributed systems. Here are resources. Low power IoT and sensor networks. Connectivity solutions for limited infrastructure. TinyML and efficient computing. Case studies and applications, right? So again, this is not everything, but like this is just stuff to get you started or to get you inspired. Please take a look at it. If there's anything you discover that you feel the world should know about, feel free to share it. And yeah, that's those are the key highlights that we have for now. Oh, there's if you obviously as the challenge goes on, you may have questions, you may want to reach out, you may want to connect with people, form teams. You can do that leveraging the Telegram channel, which I'll post the link in the chat and also in the show notes for this video. You should join that. Let's have conversations on there, ask your questions, get them answered. You can also use the discussions group on Devpost as well. That would be great. You follow us on any of our social media handles as well, and we'll be releasing a lot of information on there. I believe we have our first knowledge sharing session is coming up in about 2 weeks or less even, where we're going to be having someone talk about some of the areas in resource constrained computing, to share just to inspire people. And so, yeah, that's it at a high level. I will look in the chat and Q&A to see if anything has come through. Yeah, so there's one from Adeboye. He's asking, yeah, thank you for this challenge. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining this challenge. I actually wanted to say, for all of you who are working on this challenge, we want to say thank you, because what you're doing is not just for yourselves, but you're also pushing the boundaries of what is possible and inspiring other people coming behind you just by taking the chance to put yourself out there to be part of this. So we're really grateful to you. So thank you, Adeboye, and everybody else. So he's asking, do finalists get a chance to present physically also? So like I said earlier, because of the distributed nature of this challenge, the presentation will be online. It will be live streamed. If anything changes in that regard, we'll definitely let everybody know. But the current plan today is there's going to be a live streamed presentation. So Thomas is asking, if I'm an African but studying in another country, am I eligible for the hackathon? So like the hackathon rules are for, state that you have to be resident in the country at the time of the challenge, in the countries listed at the time of the challenge. So folks who are resident outside at that time will not be eligible. Cool. So are they waiting for more questions or comments from folks? Do not be shy. While we do that, yes, thank you, Fumi, for adding the links in the chat. I'm looking through the chat. Welcome, Abubakar Sadiq. Really great to have you with us. And yes, interested in AI. That's awesome. Everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome. AI, virtual reality, extended reality, IoT, advanced computing, quantum computing, research, musical artist, actor, singer, whatever it is you're doing, so long as you have a perspective and an ability to execute and contribute in this conversation of resource-constrained computing, let's get it, right? Let me actually stop sharing so that we can see each other, or so that you can see me. So looking at the chat, so Isaac is asking, if you want to work on an IoT project, it should be no. So Isaac is asking, does that mean that if you want to work on an IoT project, that it should be local network and not cloud connected, which requires internet? Is that right? I'll say not exactly, right? Anything is, again, no boundaries. The question I would ask you, let's assume you're building an IoT project. My question to you would be, what are the resource constraints that you're addressing, right? It could be an IoT that uses mobile internet and very low power, right? Works with a battery that is very low or very low wattage, right? How would you work in that situation? It could be a project that only comes online for a few seconds and reaches out to the internet to upload data or download data and shuts off to maximize how it uses power, right? So again, it doesn't mean that you can't connect to the internet, but it probably means that the internet connection is unpredictable or unavailable most of the time or whatever. It could also be offline if you so choose. It depends on what specific problem space you are addressing. So I hope that answers your question, but feel free to refine the question if it doesn't, or to ask for clarification. There's a question. Oh, I thought there was another question. Oh, do I see? Okay. So Louis is asking, how do we connect with others on the challenge if we want to work as a team? Excellent question. You can use the Telegram channel to reach out to people as a team. You can also leverage Devpost as well. There's a discussion tab on Devpost to reach out to people, to ask them to want to work as a team. And yeah, you can even use social media. You can retweet our tweets or share any of our posts on LinkedIn and Instagram and ask people, hey, I'm looking for a team. Let's do it. I would also encourage you to reach out within your own networks. Let them know about this challenge. Let them know what you're thinking about. You never know who you may get interested, right? You never know who might be interested. Even people who may not be technical can still be part of your team. They could help with the documentation, for example. Documentation is something you shouldn't take for granted, right? So even having somebody, and it's 30% of the score. So having somebody on your team who only focuses on documentation could be the game changer for for you in this challenge. But just the short answer to your question: leverage the Telegram channel, leverage all the other channels I mentioned, like social media and Devpost and so on, and help publicize the challenge, because the more people who join, the higher your chances of finding a teammate. I hope that helps, but if not, please ask for more clarification. Are there more questions coming through? Yeah, so while we wait to see if there are more questions, I will put in our social media handles as well, just so that you have them and follow them and just stay tuned, because we will over time be releasing a lot of information on social media, as well as through the challenge channels like Telegram and so on. So please, follow these links, subscribe to our Substack, follow us on Instagram, on X, of course, join the challenge on Devpost if you haven't done that already, and follow our LinkedIn page as well. And while going once, twice, 3 times for questions, please pop in your question. Don't be shy, and we'll do our best to address them. So while I wait for any last questions, I'll just say again that for those people who are watching this video, whether you're watching it live or you're watching the recording, thank you for even showing up. Thank you for watching it. If you do decide to go on and participate in this challenge, again, I want to say thank you. Remember, you're doing it for yourself, obviously, because like we said, participating in this challenge, we've designed it in such a way that regardless of what level you get to, you are going to gain something, like you're going to benefit a lot just from participating in the challenge. That's the first thing. But beyond that, you're actually pushing the boundaries for deep tech in Africa and for Africans. Your participation is going to inspire a lot of people who may have been thinking about it, who may even have never even thought that something like this kind of support for their crazy ideas was available. But because you participated and they see you participating, they're inspired to push themselves beyond their boundaries and do something awesome. So, again, that's why I was saying thank you for even showing up and participating. And we're really, really, really excited. Everybody I've talked to about this challenge in the startup community, the tech community, the deep tech community, the R&D community, both home and abroad, are really excited to see what kind of innovations come out of this challenge, and are waiting in the wings to support the participants and the winners and beyond to take them to the next level, no matter where they are at. And so in closing, if there's no other questions, I want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for daring to dream beyond what is traditionally possible. And we cannot wait to see the awesome things that you build. If you have any questions, have any comments, anything at all, suggestions, connect to us on Telegram, share that. And please share this news of this challenge, especially those of you who don't have teams. The more people who get to hear about it, the more the chances that you're going to find the teammate that's going to change your destiny. So again, thank you so much. And we're going to be communicating more either on socials. We'll be doing more live streams. Stay tuned for those. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.